Hello out there. Welcome back to the kitchen. I feel like it has been a long time since I've sat down in the kitchen and made a Horror Nights video, not since I finished up my review for Halloween Horror Nights 2019, which is the most recent year as of the recording of this video. So, it is officially 2020, which means we are coming up on an anniversary year of Halloween Horror Nights. This year will be the 30th year of the event, and of course, big anniversary year probably means a lot of really amazing things in store as far as the event is concerned. I, for one, cannot wait for the event this year. Right now it's only February, so there's still a little bit of time left before the event gets going. I've been reading a lot about speculation for this upcoming year. I don't really want to comment on any of that right now because it's still too soon, and as we have seen in years past, things can always change, and don't want to get my hopes up or get too preemptively upset about something potentially coming if there's no real basis in that. So maybe a little bit down the line, I'll comment on the speculation that I've been seeing take shape. As for today, though, I thought it would be really fun to make a list that I've been meaning to do for a while, and I've mentioned over the course of my other Horror Nights related videos that there are several houses that I wouldn't be mad if they ever got a sequel. So today I will be ranking my top 5 most wanted sequel houses for Halloween Horror Nights. So I am only including houses that I have personally been in. I started going to the event in 2009, so any house between 2009 and 2019 is fair game. As much as I would like to include houses that I would like to see again or wouldn't mind a sequel of, that the original I never got to go through, I don't think that would be very fair. I could make an entirely separate list of houses that I never got to experience that I would like them to come back in some way. And as always, my opinions are subjective, so, tear me to shreds if you want. I really don't care. These are just my thoughts. I'll be ranking these in descending order from 5 to 1, from I would be super stoked if this came back and would scream a little bit, to if this came back and we had a sequel to it, I would scream a lot. Right, number 5, Slaughter Cinema. I know this one is fairly recent, from only a couple of years ago, but Slaughter Cinema was perfection. It was the perfect blend of scary and campy. I love the idea of B, terrible horror movies that don't actually exist. I love each room being a different theme. I really do like houses that kind of fall in that same category. This one was so perfect. And there were so many movies that would play in the little screen in the trailer beforehand, before you'd go even into the house, that weren't featured in it. So there's already a huge crop to pull from, and you could even do like sequels within the house of some of the most popular ones. I don't know about you guys, but if Swamp Yeti came back, I would be thrilled. This is one of my favorite original houses from recent years, and in fact, as of right now on my huge list of the ranking of all of the houses I've been through, it sits relatively high. It's in my top 20. This house was the first one I went into the year that it was at the event, and it has a special place in my heart, and I haven't talked to anybody that didn't love this house, so I don't think I'm in the minority of wanting to see this one come back. Moving on to number 4, HR Blood and Guts. This one is kind of like similar to the Slaughter Cinema thing in a way, because I live for the mixture of horror and camp, and no, I did not find HR Blood and Guts Presents Holidays of Horror to be the scariest thing I ever went through. And in fact, it's not even one of my top rated houses. I still enjoyed it though, but I would love to see this come back. I mean, you can keep the host, you can keep HR Blood and Guts, and you can put any other theme that you want in there. It's perfect. It could be so many different things. I love anything that like really leans into sometimes horror is not always great. Sometimes horror is laughably bad. I guess now that I'm talking about this house right after talking about Slaughter Cinema, I'm realizing that I think I have like a thing for anthology style houses where maybe it doesn't follow a linear storyline and each room is just a different theme. Maybe that's like my favorite thing. I don't know. Now that I'm saying it, I've never really realized that before, but I would really like to see HR Blood and Guts come back in some capacity. I feel like in the Horror Nights fandom, he kind of has like a cult following, and I think there would be many people beside myself that would be happy if he returned to us and gave us some other sort of horror marathon for us to enjoy. Number 3, La Llorona, specifically Urban Legends La Llorona. So, back when this house first appeared, I was under the impression that this was going to be a series of houses, like an anthology series of houses. Urban Legends, colon, La Llorona, which I think a lot of people thought that. I think that's what it was supposed to be, where this was the first installment of a series of houses. I've also heard rumblings that there was a planned and partially constructed Chupacabra house that, due to the Transformers ride being built, was scrapped at the last minute. I only know of the things I've read online about that, only know of the rumors I have seen about that. I have no knowledge whether or not this was in fact factual. Other smarter, more in the know people than me could answer that, but I do think there was supposed to be another Urban Legends house. But since La Llorona, we haven't really gotten an official sequel to La Llorona, or second installment. I guess you could say that Yeti Terror of the Yukon could fall under the category of Urban Legends, but it didn't have that official heading. And there are so many different urban legends that you could pull from. I mean, I know it would be similar to Yeti, but it's just one that comes to mind. You could do a Bigfoot house. I mean, come on, Swamp Yeti did well. Yeti was well received. Give us a Bigfoot house. Give us the Chupacabra house that we never had. You could do one for the Jersey Devil. I mean, the list goes on and on of different famous urban legends. You could pick urban legends from other countries as well. I feel like those would be really well received houses, because I think that would be something that people might have a little bit of background knowledge going into. I know in the grand scheme of Horror Nights' time, it hasn't really been like many years since we got La Llorona, but I was kind of hoping that by now we might have gotten a second Urban Legends house, and we still haven't. And every year I kind of wonder, like, is this going to be the year that we might get one? And up until now, my hopes have been dashed. I kind of don't feel like the anniversary year is going to be the time to bring this one back. While it was a great house to me, shout out to me running into a wall because it was too dark for me to see, I digress. I don't think it was one of the most like popular of all time that they would honor in an anniversary year. Number 2, Silver Screams. This goes right back into my anthology thing. That's weird. This was my favorite house from the first year I ever attended Halloween Horror Nights, 2009. I know that the conversation surrounding intellectual property IPs at the event is a complicated one. There are some that I have really enjoyed. In fact, a couple of my favorite houses of all time have been based on pre-existing movies or books or things like that. I know that a lot of people would rather see original content. I'm a big fan of original content. This house was kind of where original met intellectual property, because you had the icon of the Usher and you got to go through all of these famous movie scenes. We did get to see the Usher again at Halloween Horror Nights 20 Years of Fear. In fact, one of my favorite pictures I have of myself at the event was with the Usher. Granted, that was only the second year I ever went, so the first 2 years I went to the event, I got to see the Usher, and for that reason, he's my favorite icon of all of them. I know that might be strange to some people, but I loves me some Julian. I really want him to come back. I don't really know. I kind of feel like the era of icons has more or less come to an end, even though we've gotten some in the last few years, but I don't think Chance was that well received. I know that Jack is really recognizable. I would love for there to be some sort of icon or theme for 30. If there was any time to do it, now is the time. So I like to think maybe the Usher would come back, and I feel like this would be a good way to make more IPs be palatable. Now, I know that the way contracts work, it probably wouldn't be cool to like shove just a big name into a couple of scenes in a house. I know that a lot of the times like there's specifications for what they can and can't do with certain properties, but if you wanted to take like classic horror movies and then put the Usher in there too, I would be happy. I think other people would like that. I miss the Universal Palace Theater. Let's all go back. Let's all go to the lobby. I think the reason this one is number 2 for me is kind of the nostalgia factor. This was such an iconic house to me going through it, literally the icon house. But I just really enjoyed this one, and it made me aware of some films that I'd never actually watched and then watched after the event was over. And it really was like, it felt like quintessential horror to me. It felt like, oh, I get what this event is about. It's taking things that you recognize and then it's blending it with something original, and you've got this like wonderful finished product in this haunted house. Before I talk about my number 1 pick, I do have a few honorable mentions, because why can't I ever just pick a number? Why do I have to talk about 20,000 houses? Anyway, Gothic. Oh my god, Gothic was one of the most stunning and scary houses that we've had. I know it was featured in 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem, but Gothic, I think, would be well served to have a full sequel. I think it was just magnificent and would love to experience something like that again. Dollhouse of the Damned was another one of the creepiest houses ever. I feel like there's so much you can do with the idea of like, twisted dolls. I mean, who isn't afraid of creepy dolls? This one was really good. I remember that Make You Pretty scene so much, and that one really creeped me out. That was one of the more like creepy ones, and I would love to see that, some iteration of creepy dolls again. Nevermore, The Madness of Poe. So maybe this one's cheating, maybe it's not. I do feel like there are more stories from Edgar Allan Poe you could put in a house. Granted, they did all of the really like amazing ones in this house, but you could take another author and explore it. I mean, I know we'd never get Stephen King. I know people ask for it pretty much every year, and it would just be like a dream, and it's probably never gonna happen. A lot of people want a Lovecraft house. I feel like there's not much explored since, there hasn't been much explored since Nevermore of like literary horror. I think that would be like a really good area to get more into, and I feel like you could kind of call it a sequel to Nevermore. One more that I would have put on this list if I had made this video prior to Halloween Horror Nights from 2019, I'm gonna put it on here anyway, Nightingales. Nightingales is one of the most famous houses from Halloween Horror Nights 2011, Halloween Horror Nights 21. One of my favorites, one that even my dad still talks about to this day because it was like, that impressive to us. We did get a sequel. We got Nightingale's Blood Pit. I came around to Nightingale's Blood Pit, but I kind of feel like it wasn't the sequel I wanted. I'm just gonna say it. And now the time has come to reveal my #1 most wanted sequel. This is probably a surprise to no one if you have watched any of my other videos, because I feel like I mention it all the time. Catacombs. Justice for Catacombs. When? When are we getting Catacombs again? Give me my Plague Doctors. This is one of my favorite houses of all time. It was my favorite from 2010. I will never stop loving this house. And it was in a tent. They're like not even the most impressive sets, whatever. The energy of the cast and the costumes and just the whole storyline of it was so amazing. And I feel like it played into that like claustrophobic underground fear that a lot of people have, and the masks were freaky, and I remember just every moment of walking through this house and being terrified. And then you throw in the whole like illness thing, and that's like a big like fear of mine, any sort of like epidemic or pandemic or anything like that. No, I don't like anything like that. So this one really scared me, but I really enjoyed it. And every single year since I have gone through that house, I have waited for a sequel. I thought we might get a room of it when they did 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem. We did not. I remember there was like briefly a rumor a couple of years ago that it was gonna get a sequel. It didn't. I wait every day for my Catacombs sequel. I can't even tell you what I specifically want in it. I just want my Plague Doctors back. Am I alone? Am I crazy? Probably. Does anybody else want this? Also probably. See, this is why I should not be allowed to talk about my feelings for Horror Nights, because I can't do that without sounding like a lunatic. There you have it. Those are my top 5 most wanted sequels for Halloween Horror Nights. I'd be really curious to see what other people's lists would look like, because I feel like any sequel that somebody said, I want a sequel house to that, I would agree and say, yeah, that would be awesome. Because really, going through my list, it's like, yeah, I would walk through a sequel of that. But these were the ones, I picked these because I felt like these were the ones that could be most justified in having a sequel, in my opinion. But there's no such thing as too much Horror Nights for me. So in the meantime, I will be anxiously awaiting opening night to smell the fog and to feel the excitement and to hear all of the sights. I'm losing it clearly. To see the sights and hear the sounds of Halloween Horror Nights. Until then, I will still be around. I'm sure I'll be back rambling about something Horror Nights or horror or theme park related before too terribly much longer. So I will see you guys next time.